Real Virginia is produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Farming, it's all good. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all the wonderful products we enjoy. Virginians believe the soft-shell crab is the jewel of the Chesapeake Bay, and we'll take you on a crab boat in search of this culinary delight. Another great early summer treat is fried green tomatoes. Kendra Bailey Morris has a recipe in the heart of the home. And aquaculture continues to grow in Virginia. We'll explain why some farmers are switching from working their fields to feeding their fish. Welcome back, everyone. We are here at Gloucester Point, Virginia, and it's the site of the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, where they're doing lots of research on shellfish and finfish in Virginia. And it's also the location where they're doing work to preserve the Chesapeake Bay. Now, this is critically important to Virginia's watermen who rely upon the bay for their income. And it is this season for the watermen. Shellfish, including soft-shell crab, are in season, and this is an art that goes back thousands of years and requires lots of patience and timing. Patrick Dunn has more in this report.
Peelers, jimmies, jumbos, primes, and hotels. These words may seem unrelated to you and me, but not to soft-shell crab harvesters like Ray and Kathy Davenport. They own Dimer Creek Seafood, located in Lancaster County, one of just a handful of companies still harvesting soft-shell crabs. Davenport says times have been tough before, but of all the seasons over the past 10 years dropping pots in the shallows of the York River, spring 2013 will stand out on its own.
I got 100 over here and 300 over there on the northern side of the river. Normally we start catching the male crabs when the water temperature gets above 60. And then later in May, we start catching the females, but it ain't happening. We've had a few, but not many. They didn't show up this year.
As Davenport moved down the line of crab pots, the results improved.
That's the way it ought to look.
But between the catfish, eels, striped bass, and puppy drum, all soft-shell crab predators, the day's catch, like the season, was light.
Normally right now, I'd be catching maybe 10 baskets a day of female crabs.
And what are you doing this year?
1 and 2.
Back at the shedding house, Kathy Davenport is dealing with the current peelers. Each year, young blue crabs molt to accommodate their summer growth. The actual shedding of the shell can take anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, after which it must be removed from the tank to keep the shell from hardening further.
We get the peelers from the York River. He comes back, we put them in the tanks, we shed them out, we grade them, we pack them, and we ship them. They have to be monitored every 4 hours, and especially when you get the females, because the females are a lot more aggressive than the males, and once they shed, they'll eat each other up.
It's hectic during the fishing out process, as timing is critical in the molting process to maintain the crab shell's integrity.
The ones that have been in the baskets for 4 hours, we put in the trays. Then they go in the cooler until we get to have time to grade them. We have whales, jumbos, primes, and hotels. And you have so many dozen per box according to the size.
Once they're boxed up, the crabs will be sold locally or shipped live to Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, and even Connecticut. The soft-shell crab season typically runs May through September. This season has been unusually slow for the Davenports, and they'll be the first to tell you it's put a pinch in their bottom line.
I don't know whether we'll go all summer because you see what a drive it is over to the York River. And unless you're catching enough fish, you got to pay your labor and everything else. We'll see how long it goes.
Reporting from Whitestone, Virginia, I'm Patrick Dunn.
Jutting out into the Chesapeake Bay is Lancaster County, one of the smaller localities in rural Virginia. The 64 farms here generate almost $3 million in income from 49,000 acres of farmland. Farmers here raise corn, wheat, and barley, as well as a few beef cows. There are also 7 poultry operations in the community, along with a few sheep and horses. And while there is a proud heritage of fishing to earn a living, tourism and summer homes make up a large part of the economy. 71 families now make a livelihood in agriculture, forestry, or fishing in Lancaster County, Virginia.
Hi, I'm Chris Mullins, and next we're going to talk about weed control from the ground up. Stay tuned.
Well, they're on our farm here in Virginia in Augusta County. We have been here since 1954. We moved here, my dad did. And since then, I've had my 2 sons and daughter and son-in-law, they're here. I've got grandchildren, so it's a 4th generation here that's on this farm right now.
We really feel blessed that all of our family is a part of this farm. They could have chosen different routes.
Well, it's a wonderful place to grow up and have a family, and we can all work together and play together.
I know there's a lot of families, they go to work and you don't see them till that night, whereas with the farm here, we see each other all day long.
It's a wonderful place to grow up and live.
Being out here in nature and watching things grow, and just days like today, that's a beautiful day, you just feel very fortunate. I'm Dan Holsinger. I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
I love the scenery at Virginia State Parks.
I love the water at Virginia State Parks.
We love hiking in Virginia State Parks.
I love history in Virginia State Parks.
We love camping at Virginia State Park.
I love
Virginia State Parks.
I'm Bob McDonald, and I love Virginia State Park.
Find something you love in a Virginia State Park.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone. But you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community, get the resources you need, and connect to other vets who know where you're coming from. IAVA.org. We've got your back.
Do you operate one of these? Then you need one of these. If you operate a motorboat or PWC in Virginia, you need to know about Virginia's boating safety education requirements. Visit the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries website, huntfishva.com, for more details on Virginia's boating requirements or to locate a boating safety course near you. Be responsible, be safe, have fun, and always wear a life jacket on the water.
Weeds, no one likes them and no one wants to deal with them. But according to Chris Mullins, taking some preventative measures can mean the world of difference from the ground up.
Well, this time of the year, most of you are thinking about how to control the weeds in the garden. We've had some rains and those weeds are growing quite fast. Your plants are growing fast too, but you need to control those weeds because they're not only unsightly, but they can steal nutrients and water from the plants. So you want to get rid of those. One of the things that people first think about is cultivating with a hoe like this. This is a traditional hoe. It's got a broad head on it here that can be sharpened, but it's one that you bend over slightly to utilize, and it can be hard on the back. And people think of this as a lot of work, and it is. But there's some other hoes, cultivating hoes, I wanted to show you today that are a little different. This is an Amish type hoe. It is a hoe that you move back and forth. It's called a shuttle type hoe. You'll notice the head is shaped quite differently. It is sharpened also, and you'll also notice it's got a very, very long handle, and this allows you to move back and forth, but you stand upright, so it's not as difficult on the back. And it can be a very nice type cultivating tool, especially when you're in tilled up ground. Another type of the same shuffle hoe is this one here. Very sharp, very pointy edges that allow you to get in between the plants within the row. Another long handle, and it's used upright also. This can be removed, it can be sharpened. Very nice tool there. Then there's a collinear hose. We've got one here. This is has a removable blade. It's a very small blade that can be sharpened. But this is a long handle, and this hoe is meant to be used upright with your thumbs up in an upright position and moved around. This does a very nice job, and it makes your back not hurt after you use it. Another example of that same type, this one here, another sharp edged, very small, and you can get these in various sizes that really allow you to move in and around the plants. Now again, cultivating is a very important way to remove weeds, get weeds out of the garden. But remember, every time you disturb the soil, you're bringing weed seeds to the surface, and the new rains that come will bring up new plants. So let me show you now a few other things that we can do to suppress the weeds in your garden. Well, another method for controlling weeds or suppressing weeds in your garden would be use a mulch. That could be an organic mulch, like we're going to show here, or an inorganic mulch, which would be plastic or some other type of material. But this organic mulch, maybe even shredded paper or newspaper, can be used. It can be put right around the plant. You'll see these tomato plants here. We want to keep the weeds away from those, and one way would be to put a thick layer of this paper mulch, and this paper will get wet and it'll slowly degrade, but if you put it in thick enough, it's going to suppress weeds. They're not going to get that light, and they're not going to grow through there. Because in the row here is where you have the most problem. In the row middles, you can really use hoes and other types of tools to cultivate that. Straw is another one. Straw, like this material here, can be used to put right around the tomato plants, as you see here, and it's going to block the sunlight. It needs to be in there pretty thick though. Just a thin layer really won't help you much. Some people use newspapers. Shredded newspaper or whole newspapers can be used, and those can be placed in here, and once they get wet, they'll stay on the ground. These kind of things really suppress that weed growth. Light can't get through, the weeds don't grow, and you don't have to worry so much about cultivating, which is a time saver for you. Well, some of the things we've talked about, the mulches, the cultivation tools, they work very well in the garden because the ground's already tilled up. But in the landscape, in the yard, they don't work as well. So some people will turn to chemicals to spot treat weeds. There are some good conventional type herbicides that are out there. An alternative to that would be something like this, typical household vinegar. It's 5% acetic acid. In a spray bottle like this, it works very well, and it can be very effective for treating plants such as this weed here, this American thistle. Now, it's best to treat on a sunny day early in the morning, spraying very close to the plant, remembering that the breeze, if it's windy, will take this and kill all the plants around it also. Young plants, maybe 1 or 2 applications will kill them. Older plants, as they get a little more tough, it might take several applications. But it's a nice alternative to a conventional herbicide. For more information about weed control in the garden or in the landscape, contact your local extension office. For From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
Up next on Real Virginia, it's a family recipe for many Southern cooks, fried green tomatoes. That recipe is coming up in the heart of the home. While midsummer means ripe tomatoes hanging heavy on the vine, it is early summer that Southerners look forward to the most because that means fried green tomatoes. Kendra Bailey Morris has a wonderful recipe with a kick in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Kendra Bailey Morris, and welcome to the Heart of the Home. Today we are in Sir Latab's beautiful kitchen, where we're going to be making one of my favorite recipes, very, very Southern, very, very Virginia, quintessential Virginia, in fact, which is some fried green tomatoes. And we're going to do a fried green tomato sandwich with a spicy Creole mayo. And this is a really simple dish, very crowd-pleasing, using fresh Virginia tomatoes, which you can find seasonally throughout the spring and the summer, with the green tomatoes obviously earlier in the spring, and then your heirloom tomatoes later in the summer. So let's get started. First, what I'm going to do is start by adding some all-purpose flour into a bowl. And then I've got some very fine cornmeal. You can use coarser cornmeal if you want to. I like the finer cornmeal because it actually gives it a little bit of a crunch, but not too much. I've got some cayenne pepper, optional of course, but I highly recommend it. I've got some salt and some fresh black pepper. This is just going to be what I dredge the tomatoes in. Now, I've already sliced some fresh green tomatoes up, and these are really, really wonderful. And what I'm going to do is just dip them in a little bit of milk, And you don't need to soak them or anything like that. Buttermilk works well. And then I'm going to dredge them in a little bit of this mixture, just like so. And I'm going to add them to my fryer. And in my fryer, I have some vegetable oil, and I have a little bit of bacon grease. And the bacon grease is certainly optional, but it lends a really, really wonderful flavor. Fried green tomatoes are great with cooked bacon on them, so I said, well, why not to put some bacon grease in there? All right, and I'm going to go ahead and add this to my pan. And I'm going to work in batches here. A little milk, a little bit of flour, there we go. All right. Meanwhile, while these are cooking, I'm going to make a Creole mayo, and this is basically kind of a combination of Creole mustard and mayonnaise, some pickles. These are, you could use sweet pickles. In this case, I'm actually going to be using gherkins. And these are cooking really fast, as you can see, really good. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to start with some mayonnaise. This is just regular old mayonnaise. And you could definitely make this ahead of time. The more it sits in the fridge, the better it gets. And then I've got some Creole mustard, or you could use stone ground mustard, whatever works for you. And I've got some, that's just a little bit of Worcestershire. It's Cajun seasoning or Creole seasoning or Old Bay, whatever you like in there. And then my pickles. Meanwhile, I'm going to take a quick break and flip these guys. There we go. As you can see, this is a really light batter. This is not a heavy batter. Just going to stir this up. Add a tiny pinch of salt, not too much. A little bit of black pepper. Always to taste. And then once this is made, I'm going to cover it. I'm going to put it in the fridge. Again, you can make this a couple days ahead. The longer it's in the fridge, the better it gets. And you can see these are looking really, really, really good. So I'm going to continue to fry up my green tomatoes. And so we'll be right back as soon as these are done, and we'll assemble our sandwiches. Okay, so we have our fried green tomatoes finished, and they look really, really wonderful here. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and assemble the sandwiches. And I'm going to start by adding a little bit of Creole mayo on the bottom of the bun, just to moisten it a little bit. And then I'm going to pile on some shredded lettuce. And now the fun part, which is adding the fried green tomatoes. And feel free to pile these guys up. Bigger is better. Get one here. Here we are. A little bit more Creole mayo on top. And you think you want to put a tomato on this, but it's already got its tomato. At this point, you could definitely add some bacon, though. It'd be really, really good. All right, and so here we have it. Our fried green tomato sandwiches made with Virginia green tomatoes with a Creole mayo. I'm Kendra Bailey Morris. Let's get cooking.
Recipes from the heart of the home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org. Whether paired with bacon and lettuce or diced fresh in a spicy salsa, tomatoes are a summertime staple. The United States is the world's second leading producer of tomatoes behind China. Tomatoes come in many shapes, colors, and sizes. They're standard, globe, cherry, beefsteak, and plum. Virginia is the third largest producer of commercial tomatoes, surpassed only by California and Florida. Georgia and Ohio rank 4th and 5th in the nation. In 2012, Virginia's tomato crop was valued at $62.4 million. Fresh and processed tomatoes account for more than $2 billion in annual U.S. farm cash receipts. Virginia isn't only known for our fresh produce, but also for our fresh fish. That's right. As Norm Hyde reports, the industry of aquaculture isn't only growing, but also preserving farmland.
Virginia farmers looking for alternative crops for their existing farmland are getting hooked on aquaculture. Thanks to advice from experts at Virginia Tech and Virginia State University, business is thriving.
Aquaculture is one of the fastest growing areas of agriculture in Virginia. And the reason it is because we do have a consumer that wants a high quality product. And there's nothing better than a locally produced, easily harvestable, ready for the consumer product.
Dr. Brian Neri holds a doctorate in aquaculture and aquacultural production economics and has been advising Virginia fish farmers for more than a decade. Fish farm products include hybrid striped bass, catfish, rainbow trout, and freshwater prawns. Many of them are sold to restaurants and to the public at farmers markets across the state. Dolce Vita farm owner Kerry Giannotti sells his farm-raised rainbow trout at the Petersburg Farmers Market and says he's hooked.
I had been going to Virginia State University, the farm over there, to the aquaculture meetings, and had interest in it since I bought my farm in '77. I've always wanted to put catfish in, and I came across they started introducing the trout to us, and I hadn't done any fish, but I decided to try the trout, and it took off.
Utilizing existing parts of a farm makes the transition to aquaculture easier. Many former tobacco farmers have switched their irrigation ponds to fish ponds, for instance. John Hoffmeyer, president of the Virginia Aquaculture Association, used to be a traditional farmer in Charles City County.
My particular operation, we have lakes on our farm, and it was all previously cropland. And we grew grain, and it had 100 head of beef cattle on it. And over time, the gravel operation has gotten bigger and the fields are getting smaller. I decided in 2001 to do aquaculture, and I stocked hybrid striped bass through a small growers grant through Virginia State University. Right now I have about 16,000 stripers in a 6-acre lake. In the wintertime I raise rainbow trout in cages from November through spring.
One of the first aquaculture species raised in Virginia was catfish. Dr. Lynn Blackwood, president of the Virginia Aqua Farmers Network, focused on raising them in his Lunenburg County farm.
In the past, I've been mostly focused on growing the catfish out from fingerling size to either stocker size or filletables. And now I'm moving to a hatchery system where I can hatch my own eggs and create my own fry and my own fingerlings for stocking in my ponds and also the network's ponds throughout Southside Virginia. What you see here is the development of a broodstock pond where I will take large males and large females and put in nesting boxes, and I will allow them to nest and create the eggs. I will take the eggs to my hatchery, and then I will hatch the eggs to fry, and then as they become swim-up fry, I'll be able to transplant them into this grow-out pond. And it'll take me a full warm season before they will become fingerlings. Then they'll be ready for stocking.
You can purchase Virginia Aqua Farmers Network products sold under the brand name Virginia Natural Fish Company from their website at aquafarmers.com. They'll ship them directly to your home. Reporting in Lunenburg County, I'm Norm Hyde.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We're so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer. Whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape, we are proud to call this Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching and make it a good month.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.